Hey, today I want to talk about granulating watercolors. What is that? And why would that be a good thing or a bad thing? And how does that work with mixed media projects? Well, today I want to cover all of this. I love granulating watercolors. So first of all, what the heck is it? It is when the pigments, the actual chunks of color particles in your watercolors, they actually separate away on your paper. So if there's a watercolor that has super finely ground pigments, when you do a wash of watercolor on your paper, it's seamless and the color is solid, not opaque, but solid in that there's no separation of any of the pigments anywhere. It's just a very even stream of color. And when you have watercolors that are granulating, it means there's clumps of pigments that don't stream together, and on your paper you can actually see the individual particles. Now, some people perceive that as a desirable effect, and other people don't love that effect so much. So the choice is totally up to you. So today I'm going to do a demonstration of what granulating watercolor particles look like. Also, how do they behave on different papers? Because as you know, and I actually just recently did a video on watercolor paper for mixed media artists, but how does those granulating particles behave on rough watercolor paper, cold press, or hot press, which is the really smooth kind. Then I'm just gonna do a quick demonstration project to show you how you can use these in your mixed media art projects to make really cool effects. And my excuse for even making this video is that I just treated myself to this pack of Schminky Super Granulation Formula Forest set, which I've been dying to use. I am a huge Daniel Smith watercolor fan, and I really want to actually do a little comparison to see, because I love granulating watercolors, to see if it's more or less. And then last but not least, I'm going to also be testing out this Granulation Medium, which in theory transforms any watercolor into a granulating watercolor. Now, spoiler, I've used this before and I did not love the results, but I'm going to be doing this test against actually other granulating watercolors, so maybe I'll have a different effect this time. Who knows? I'm going to give it a try. Stay to the end because I also have a little special packet for those that are interested in different ways that you can use watercolors specifically for mixed media projects. Okay, so watch to the end and I'll have a little giveaway for you there. So let's get started. When I get new watercolors, and like I said, I just treated myself to this set. And I said Schminky, but I think it's Schminka. I don't know, I'm not good at pronunciation of these fancy schmancy products. These are supposed to be highly super duper granulating, so I'm going to, I'm just gonna set up a palette. So I'm gonna swatch these for you so you can see, but this is actually how I would set up my actual palette. I have to keep these in order so I'll go back later and I will color code them. This is what it looks like when they're all set up. I squish out my paints here and then I color swatch up there so I can see. So yeah, this is how I'm actually setting up this palette. That will be my forever palette. Now I'm keeping some in the tube because I like to make up travel palettes for myself as well. And I have a video on how I do that. So I'm leaving enough so that I can squish it into a little half pan like this one. So here we go. So this is forest green, keeping these in order very carefully. This is, what is this? Oh, forest gray, forest brown. Oh, so let's do this over. Forest green, forest gray, forest brown, forest olive, forest blue. I'm not gonna lie, that's super confusing. And then boop, we're gonna just little boop this one in here, which is, what is this one? Shire green. I know there's like a whole Shire set too. I'm such a fantasy nerd that I can't help myself, but try out all like the little earthy colors. All right, I have my little water here. I have a range of Polina Bright. She makes the best watercolor brushes, so that's what I'm going to be using. And then I'm going to do my watercolor test. So here is some cold press. Here is some hot press, and I have rough as well. They're really different, all these watercolor papers. Watercolor papers only come in these different kinds. Oh my gosh, look at that squishy little bird. All right, let's do the rough test first. Actually, let's not. Let's do the hot press first. So first, what I will do is show you one of my favorite watercolors from Daniel Smith that is super granulating. One that I love, actually my top two favorite colors are Serpentine Genuine and Imperial Purple. And as you can see, also Rose of Ultramarine. Can you see how you can kind of see the separation there? There's like little chunks. Same thing with here. Actually, these actually separate into two separate whole colors. Here's a great example. You can see like gold and green together. And for this, you can see pink and purple. Pink and purple. The Rose of Ultramarine is more pinky than purple, and then the opposite for Imperial Purple. So cool. And then there's even more granulating ones. Where's the perfect example of this is a really good one. I don't actually love this color whatsoever, but it gives a really good example, which is Burnt Tiger's Eye Genuine. Do you see how? So let's do this one first so you can just see. I'm going to use a mop brush by Polina Bright. Links to everything are on my blog that go along with these videos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's this one. Okay, so this is going to be this on hot press. So hot press paper is super smooth. So if you get a nice watery mix, here, I'll do it across all 3 papers. How's that? So we can see what the heck this granulation thing is all about and what it looks like. Oh, I was already doing some samples on my rough cut, and I will do it again over here. So yeah, rough paper is super neat because it's like has literal pockets that the color just sinks into. So cool. So as you can see, this is a Daniel Smith, a color that I know is super granulating. Can you see this? Now it's accentuated by the rough cut paper. You can see there's just literal pockets. It's all like there's like pockets of color, right? And that's because those pigments are huge, and so they separate from one another. This is what it looks like on cold press. Okay. And this is what it looks like on hot press. So you can see hot press is really smooth. So it doesn't have those pockets that the rough and the cold texture create. It just sits on the paper. So the effect is really quite different. Don't stick your finger in it. But you can still see the separation here. It looks really like sand almost. It reminds me of like sand on the beach. Okay, so that is, to my mind, a super granulating Daniel Smith color, probably the most granulating color that I own of all the Daniel Smiths. So now let's put these Schmincke ones to the test. Use the same mop brush. And oh, I can't wait. I need to swatch them all. I'm just gonna swatch, I want to swatch all of them, but I don't want to make this video 6,000 years long. So I'm going to start with, I don't remember the order that I put them in now. Where are they? Where did I put my tubes? I have so much down that I don't even know where they are. All right, well, I'm gonna start with the one on the left. Oh, here we go. I'm such a nerd. This is Forest Green. I'm gonna do the one all the way on the left here. So again, I'm gonna dip my brush in. Oh gosh. Oh, sorry, I'm not even showing you what I'm seeing. Okay, and we can see, is it granulating? Heck yeah, it is. You can see that pretty well. Now, it's not as much as this one, and that's not a good or bad thing, by the way. We're just simply noticing the granulation. I don't see it actually crazy much in there. I'm gonna check it, do this on the cold press. Again. Getting a generous. Now when these dry out, I won't be able to even pick up as much. All right, I can see it much better here. I can see the color separating into like a brown and a green. Oh, look at that. I just totally like unearthed the brown when I swiped it. Do you see that? The two colors kind of coming out. Now we'll look and see what it looks like on the hot press. Again, so super different effects. And let's see if we can kind of see the granulation. Yes, I can. Yep, I can start to see again, it's sort of like two completely different colors. I see the brown separating away from the green. So I'm gonna let those dry. I'm not gonna test all the colors because I think that makes for a pretty boring video, but I'm gonna let these dry and then just kind of assess. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, so I dried everything. I also labeled my papers so I wouldn't have to keep saying it. So like rough, and which is also the roughest. I also swatched one more because I wanted to really get a comparison. Look at the Daniel Smith. So crazy, these pockets. Those are huge pigment balls that are all getting collected. And it's much, much less apparent for the Schminkit. Now again, it's not good or bad, it just is what it is. And it's just interesting to take note. But look at these big big collection of pigments, so to speak. That's in like the green, really the green, which one was that? That was forest blue. And again, I did the same comparison on the hot press. And you can see really distinctly, see these big kind of like rivers of water running through. And then you have these, again, these collection, that's the Daniel Smith, the collection of pigments. So it's this very striking look. And then here is as it appears on the cold press. Okay, so before I do a little demo of something that you would actually use this for, I'm gonna try this medium, which is made by Winsor Newton, and it's a granulation medium, supposedly creating this granulation effect into your regular watercolors. I don't know how it works, to be honest. I don't know if it thins it out and it kind of forces the larger particles to separate. I don't know the science behind how this works, but I will just FYI, like the quinacridone color series and the phthalo are really, do not granulate for the most part whatsoever. So I'm gonna pick, this is quinacridone lilac. So I'm going to see if I can make it granulate without having to buy a granulated color. So on the directions on the back, it says for maximum capacity, dilute color generously with medium alone. All right, so I'm gonna take my pipette and I am going to put it into an empty palette. That's a lot of medium. And then I'm going to take a color, which I know is not granulating. My art science experiment today should be fun. And my big old mop brush by Polina Bright. And I'm going to really get some pigment stirred up here and deposit it into my pool of granulation medium. And then I'm just gonna directly apply it to the different papers. We have a rough, God, I love that color. Look at that color. Jeez Louise. And then we have the hot press. And then we have my cold press over here. Sorry, I don't have the camera on it. It's nothing exciting. I'm just literally applying it to the paper. So again, I'm gonna dry these and just see what happens, see what it looks like. All right, so let's take a look at our watercolor that we added the medium to. Cold press, I definitely see the separation here. These little more heavily pigmented areas. You can see the separation, which really is the granulation. So actually that worked. I wonder if the first time I tried this, I didn't add enough of the granulating medium. Same thing here. This effect looks very similar to these ones. It's not as marked. The granulating, I find that the granulating watercolors are really, like, when they separate into separate colors. Like I mentioned at the very beginning of this video, like I can see like black and green, black and blue. This is sort of black and brown. And this is sort of, it's still the same. It's like very monochrome. It's sort of like dark pink and light pink. So you don't get that level of separation, but the effect it is achieved. Ironically, I would have thought that the rough would have acted, for all of these colors, would have acted like the Daniel Smith one, where you have these big pockets of big boulders of pigment stuck in all the nooks and crannies. And I don't see that with the other ones. But again, it's not good or bad, it just is. Just something interesting to take note of. I love rough watercolor paper, actually. It has its applications for sure. So anyways, on this particular paper, I think Daniel Smith definitely takes the crown in terms of granulation. But the effects are cool. I don't see really any separation using the granulating medium on the rough cut paper here, so maybe that's not the best combo. And the granulating medium is not cheap either, so I would definitely stay away from that if you're going to be using rough cut paper, because you're just not going to have that same effect that you're looking for. All right, let's switch gears. Why the heck would you want to use granulating materials in a mixed media art project, right? What does that have to do with mixed media? Well, you can do mixed media projects, and by the way, if you're a beginner, mixed media just means you're using more than one medium in the same project. But people like to use mixed watercolors a lot, but you have to be careful, because watercolors can reactivate anytime you add more water. And the nature of a lot of mixed media projects is that you're adding a lot of adhesives or glues or acrylics mediums, and you can really wreck what you've put down on paper. So you have to be super careful and kind of know your layers and where you're going. So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned I had a little something for you, and that is I have a 32-page packet that is super helpful because it's filled with about 30 different projects of different ways you can layer your mixed media, and so that you'll have success. Now, I love this packet so much because it's brimming with ideas, but not only brimming with ideas, these are ideas given to me by my artist friends in my community, students and colleagues alike, who have tried and tested these layers so they know that they work. So, okay, this isn't random, like intuitive mixed media. These are layers that work. And so you can actually follow these like a recipe, and I've named it my hot dog. This is my hot dog recipe, okay? And this lays it out really, this is all included in the packet. And it's free if you would like a copy. You just let me know in the comments and I'll drop you a link and you can grab it. But what's nice is that it gives you the ingredients. So the first is your substrate. So in this demo, right, this would be the watercolor paper, and I'm going to do a little demo in a second. The bun is really the main ingredient. So in this case, that's the watercolor. Okay, and then the hot dog is really your second ingredient. It's very simple. You have your plate, bun, hot dog, toppings, right? So your second ingredient would be your, you have some choices with watercolor. Now, maybe you might be like, well, I'm brand new to mixed media. I don't know what my choices are. And that's where the packet is super helpful. So you can go in here and look through and see if you have these ingredients in your stash, and you can build a hot dog that you know will be successful. So what I'm doing on my mixed media YouTube channel is I'm actually building my own projects based on these different hot dogs. So here is a great one, and if we're going in order today, would be really number 5. So here's the perfect one. This was actually submitted by myself because I created the packet. So number 1 would be the watercolor paper. So in the packet, you also have these empty templates. So when you are doing your own projects at home, you can fill these in also, so you have a record of what is working. So today we're going to do a watercolor paper, color paper. Okay, and I do these with my students at Awesome Art School as well. In my Mixed Media Society, I have these also available, and we are building lots of projects of these over time. So the bun is going to be our watercolors because that's our main ingredient. Now the hot dog is going to differ today. So in this example, this is actually a little project I do in my Celtic Collective Art Club. I have 3 different art clubs at Awesome Art School that I run. So this one we're using colored pencil on top of watercolor. But in today's little demo, I'm actually going to be using ink on top of my watercolor. So I'm varying slightly from this. So on my hot dog, but I know it works, it's tried and true. So I'm going to go ahead and put ink as my second ingredient, okay? And then for toppings, the toppings is up to you. Most generally, if you flip through this whole packet, almost everybody has like either a black or a white. For like black is for details and definition, and the white are for highlights. So it's super interesting. Bleed through ink for highlights. White acrylic tinged with gesso for highlights. Drawing utensils for details. This is pit and white fine tipped and black Tombow markers. Those again, details and highlights. So you'll notice over and over, that's what we are getting. Now my ink, I don't think I actually need any highlights today, so I can use the same ink that I'm using as a secondary ingredient. I can use for my topping as well. So you don't have to even use all 4 layers, but what's nice about this packet is it gives you such a huge resource of different things that work. Again, you can really screw up a mixed media project if you don't do your layers in the right order. And I just don't like having surprises when I'm working. So the little demo I'm gonna do, with that being aside, is I'm gonna do a little drawing. We're gonna do a little dragonfly wings. Okay, super quick. Because really, why would you want to use these granulated colors? And the answer is because you can get some real ethereal effects. So in projects where you, like little fairy wings, so to speak, that would be lovely. Or a little forest, like that's on the cover of the watercolors. That would be lovely. It just gives like a different effect. So I'll just do super fast, just kind of show you perhaps what this would look like. So the shape I'm going to draw in with just a pencil. Okay, and this is on a hot press, still working here. So we have our new colors. Oh, look what I did. That's not good. That's pretty gross. So I'm gonna and I still have some color on my brush. Awesome. And I'm being facetious. That's not really awesome. Okay, so I'm going to really wash out your brush first. That would be a #1 hot tip. My water is filthy. That is my bad. But let's see, I'm going to use this color that I haven't used yet. Now it might turn brown because I have pink down on my paper, and pink and green are opposite each other on the color wheel. So this is wet on wet. Oh gosh, look at that. Oh my gosh, I don't know if you can see that, but this is actually splitting into a yellow and blue. So granulating just beautifully into those 2 colors. That's another like gorgeous surprise of the granulation colors. Remember the very beginning I was showing you Imperial Purple by Daniel Smith, and I was showing you Serpentine Genuine, and I was saying how they really separate into 2 distinct colors. Well, so is this one. And this is, I forget what color this is. This is another little Schminka. Now these are really expensive watercolors, so if you're a beginner, do not run out and buy them. I've been an artist for a decade, and this is my first set. So don't feel bad if you're not there yet, okay? It's all good. But so, yeah, just kind of sprinkling in these colors. And again, building my hot dog layers. You can be as generous and colorful as you like, or you can leave it. I'm gonna kind of leave it. Actually, I think it's pretty to have a little bit of that pink. Where's that pink? Maybe have pink on one end and green on the other. Why not? Build some little dragonfly fairy wings. This is the granulating pink I had created for the original demo. If you have too much, just take your brush and kind of mop it up. Okay, so I'm gonna just let that dry and then we'll do the ink. All right, we are ready to keep going. So I have my watercolor paper, my watercolor, and then the ink on top. So we can just do a sweet little drawing. You know, I've actually never used this before. I don't even actually know if this is water soluble or not. Just not really good to go in blind like that. But too late now, my friends. I'm crazy like that. All right. So let's see. Some dragonfly fairy wings. And by the way, if you enjoy fairies, on my drawing YouTube channel, I'm doing 10 lessons in a row of fairies, and it is been so much fun, and it's totally free, and all of those are actually in real time as well, which is kind of rare for YouTube. Like all these, you know, dragonfly wings, they get a little bit detailed, but they a lot of times have these little cross details. Fill in some of these. Yeah, these little, they remind me of like a cross between leaves, you know, like insects and leaves where they intersect. But again, it's really nice to know what layers work and what don't work. And you can see like this, look at this, I'm just drawing stuck to my watercolor. Ew, I'm like a kindergartner. Anywho, let's just pretend that didn't happen. So anyways, it's really nice to know. Mixed media is very, can be your best friend if you know what you're doing, and it can be a nightmare, and it can be really discouraging if you don't know what you're doing. And a lot of times accidents just happen because you just aren't familiar with all the different mediums and everything, and that's why it's just why that hot dog packet is so nice, because it just kind of, it's like an answer sheet. It's like, you just do this and you'll be good, because nobody likes a surprise. It's the worst when you're like happily creating, you're almost done, and then you add a material that you didn't realize was not water soluble, for example. Yeah, it can be like such a huge bummer. So anyways, granulating watercolors are super great for a lot of different reasons. Watercolor and ink together work great. Dying to know if this is water soluble, and the only way to test it is to add water. Oh, and it is. Okay, so see, again, surprise. Which can be really good and that can be really bad. So I could actually run a wet brush over these lines if I wanted to and get a whole different effect. But yeah, we'll give it a shadow, make a shadow line here and here. Okay, but again, you don't want to, if you didn't know that and you weren't prepared for that to happen, you might think that you would ruin your entire piece. And we would never want that to happen. So get educated about your layers and your supplies, and hopefully that hot dog packet helped. I hope you enjoyed this video, and go ahead and click this playlist right here. That's gonna bring you to the other hot dog projects that I've done, and I'm just gonna add on more over time. So press the like button if you enjoyed this video, leave a comment if you want the packet. I'll see you next time.